All right. Well, good morning. And today is going to be part 2 of leadership. So I know you guys have been desperately waiting to fill in the acronym that we talked about in part 1. So as a recap, we were talking about what a leader looks like. And a lot of the content I'm using is from John Maxwell, and he loves acronyms. So we use the acronym LEADER. And the L in leader is leadership. The E stands for equip, and the A stands for attitude. And if this is the first that you're hearing about this, it is on our YouTube channel. You could search A New Day of Odessa, and it should be Leadership Training Part 1. So today we're going to finish up that acronym, and we're going to start with the D in leader. And the D is dreamer. Now, obviously, a leader cannot lead properly unless they have a vision. So a book that John Maxwell really recommends is Visioneering by Andy Stanley. And the idea with a dreamer, and there's different categories of people, okay, when it comes to seeing a vision. John Maxwell calls it the first group, the wanderers. And wanderers are exactly what you think. They just never see it. They never see the vision. They kind of just stumble through life. Then there are followers. They see it, but they never really pursue it on their own. All right? Then there's the achiever who sees it, pursues it, and actually gets it done, but they don't get anyone involved with it. And then the leader sees it, pursues it, but helps others to see it and pursue it, okay? And so that's where we would want to be, right? And vision includes 4 things, right? It requires these and kind of weaves them all together. And the first one, once again, once I say it, you'll realize, yeah, that's got to be it, is passion, okay? There's no such thing as an emotionless dream, right? Or a boring dream. Even our actual, not vision, but even our dreams, you don't hear people saying, oh, like I had a really boring dream last night. Let me tell you about it. No, it's probably an epic dream or some revelation they had in it, and they tell you about this dream with passion. Well, that's the same thing when we're casting a vision. The other thing that it needs to have is motivation. So you actually got to get people motivated to actually pursue the vision that you have, okay? And then direction, obviously it helps us prioritize our lives if we have direction, and that's what a vision does. It lets us separate what is helping us get to that goal or what is a hindrance to that goal, right, that we maybe need to go around it. Or, and I mentioned this a few weeks ago, or if it's like a giant, like if it's something I actually have to overcome and battle, right? But without a vision, you won't have direction, and if you don't have direction, once again, you won't know which path to take. And because of that, you'll be more like the wanderer, right, just seeing it and just kind of going through life. The 4th thing that vision requires is purpose. And once you know what the prize is, it's easier to pay the price. Okay? So that's the idea of casting a vision. It gives us purpose, because when we struggle through something or we get some pain or some suffering, it helps us get through that. Okay, in one of my messages, I talked about the football player Ronnie Lott, who, if you're unfamiliar with this story, it's a pretty epic story, but he was, I believe, a defensive man for the Dallas Cowboys. Anyway, they were, I think it was the last game of the season, and they're about to go to the playoffs, and as he was trying to make a tackle, his finger hit the opposing player's helmet, and he broke his finger. So he got, taken off to the sideline, talked to the the trainers, and he was basically like, all right, what are my options? And they're like, well, the first option is we reset it, put it in a cast. It's going to take, several weeks for it to heal, but obviously you're not getting back in the game. And that was unacceptable to him because he had a vision, right, of going to the playoffs, going to the Super Bowl, and him not playing didn't fit that. So he said, well, what is my second option? He's like, well, we amputate it, wrap it up, and get you back out there. He said, cut it off. So he actually did. He actually cut off his finger. It was not re-sewn back on, right? And they did make it to the playoffs. Unfortunately, they didn't go to the Super Bowl, but the point is clear that once you have purpose, right, the vision should include purpose, because if you have purpose, then you're willing to pretty much put up with anything to make sure that that vision is reached. So there's some quotes, and I believe these quotes, I did this a month ago, but unfortunately I was not able to get it to you guys. But I believe these quotes come from Andy Stanley's Visioneering, or it could be a book, but I want to read these. That's why I'm going to be looking down at my phone, because I want to get these right. The credibility of a vision is determined by the leader. Okay, so let me say that again. The credibility of a vision is determined by the leader. So once you cast the vision, they're going to look at your credibility. Okay, that's why having content of character is so important in leadership. So the second quote here is, the acceptance of a vision is determined by the timing of its presentation. So the idea here is just because you get a vision on your heart doesn't mean you say it right away. Timing is definitely involved in it. Okay? The value of a vision is determined by the energy and direction it gives. So if you cast a vision and nobody's excited about it and nobody really knows which direction to go, it's not a valuable vision, right? And a good question to ask is how do you know, well, does your team have energy and direction? Okay? If they're just kind of going through the motions, it didn't have enough value. There's not enough purpose behind it. Or it might just be too low of a goal, right? Not require much additional energy. And the evaluation of vision is determined by the commitment level of its people. Once again, you can ask yourself this: how much commitment did the team put into it? Okay? And the last quote here is, the success of a vision is determined by its ownership by both the leader and the people. Okay? Because if the leader bought in and put ownership into it, but the people haven't, it's not going to be successful. Likewise, if the people are putting in a lot of time, effort, and they own it, but they realize the leader is checked out, once again, that's not going to be a successful vision. So some key points here is, once you cast the vision, one, you're going to break it down so that everybody can understand it in the most simplest terms. Two, we just talked about it, you need to own it. And three, you need to contribute to it. And then four, pass it on. Okay, people should be sharing the vision with others and getting them to understand it, own it, and contribute to it. This is why, John Maxwell says, this is why you've never waxed a rental car. And you never will wax a rental car. Why? Because you don't own it. You're not going to invest time, right, into something you don't own. So it's the same goes with vision, okay? So the D is dreamers, okay? Now the E is excellence, okay? So the second E in leader is excellence, and the idea here is you want to excel, you want to go beyond average. And a good lesson on this is, it comes from the Old Testament, and Abraham and Sarah had their promised child, right? They were both very old, and so they had Isaac, and they wanted to get a wife for Isaac. And they wanted to choose the proper wife, and they sent a servant out to go find him a wife. And they found Rebecca by the well, and she was very beautiful. So it kind of struck the servant, but she was by the well, and I guess the custom of the day is that the women at the well would draw the water for travelers, and the servant was there. So the custom was to give him water, and she did that, right? That was what was expected. But was not expected is for her to get water for his 10 camels. Now he had 10 camels. So a camel can drink 20 gallons of water. So you can do the math on that. So not only did she give water for the servant, but she got 20 gallons for each camel. Did she go beyond? Absolutely. Was that the right attitude, an attitude of excellence, going above and beyond what culture deemed to be normal? Absolutely. So, and she didn't even know who she was. She didn't do it because of what she thought she could get from it. She did it because she was an excellent person. She had a spirit of excellence, right? And Daniel also had this spirit about him, right? And it was noticeable, and that's why he was promoted up through the empire. So the idea here is we want to have that same excellence, not because of what we can get from it, but just because doing things excellently is the way they should be done, right? And the idea here is if you can do it excellently, do it. And if you can't do it excellently, then don't try. Right? Because there's somebody out there that can do it excellently. So instead, why not have them do it? Okay? So there's some lessons to be learned from Rebecca. One is not to live life as a legalist, right? Living by, well, I have to do this. This is required of me, and I will not do anything more, right? The other is, and I've heard this, we've all heard, like, what's the shortest distance between 2 points, and that's the line. But have you heard what's the longest distance between 2 points? And that is a shortcut. And I remember when I first started getting into business, one of my mentors, one of my leaders, told me that right up front. The quickest way to do things is to do things excellently. And you might think, well, that's going to take more time, isn't it? Isn't it going to take more effort? Yes, but it is the quickest way to do things. Why? Because if you don't do it with excellence, you'll probably have to redo it again, right? Or whatever you did might fail, or, you're going to make mistakes. And then you're trying to fix mistakes, takes longer. Just, once again, do things excellently. This is what a leader does, and people will respect that. So, and there's extra blessings as a result of the extra effort. Zig Ziglar once said, I'm going to read this, there's no traffic jam on the extra mile. Something to be learned from that. All right, so leader. We are down to the last letter, and that is R, and that stands for relationships. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time here on relationships because there are a ton of good books on relationships. The idea here, though, is, and this comes from the levels of leadership, where the first one is position. The second one is permission, which has to do with relationships. So the idea here is you can't ask for somebody's hand, right, before you have their heart. So in order to do that, you need to build relationships. You got to get good at learning relationship skills. It is a skill. Not everybody is inherent. Now, some people maybe have some inherent qualities to dealing with people. But once again, this is something that you can learn. Okay? And it will take effort, right, to pour into people. But if they're the right people, it is absolutely worth it. Okay? So this is going to be a shorter one today. One, because there's not an audience to ask questions and bounce things off of. So So I'm going to wrap this up, but one of the games that I love, and I'm probably dating myself by saying this, is the classic concentration game. I actually had the game on my PC. Now, if you're not familiar with this game, is there would be like an image, and there would be like pieces, right, to that image. And the contestants, if they got an answer correct, they would remove a piece, and underneath that image was another image, and there were symbols, and that symbols would spell out some phrase, and if you guessed the phrase, then you'd win the prize, okay? So the idea here is the point of going over what a leader looks like first is because it's like the game of classic concentration. I'm trying to remove pieces so that you can clearly see what a leader looks like. And why is that important? Well, if you want to be one, then once again, you have something to model. And then two, if you're looking to develop a leader, then once again, you need to know what one looks like so that you can find them, okay? So that's why we want to get over, to clearly define what a leader looks like. We miss an opportunity because we didn't know what it looked like when we saw it, right? All opportunities are missed because we didn't realize it at the time. I remember this story, and he talked about his father was approached by this company. It was a startup company, and the guy was telling him, you know, we found a way to like make burgers cheaply. And this guy's like, people don't want cheap burgers, and they're gonna put it in a bag? There's like no way you're gonna be successful making cheap, fast burgers that's sold in bags, right? People want it on a plate and looking nice. Well, that guy was offered McDonald's before it was actually McDonald's, okay? He couldn't see it, right? He missed the opportunity. So the idea here is we don't want to miss the opportunity, so I want to clearly kind of pick away the pieces so that you know what a leader looks like. So when one comes down the road, you clearly see that's somebody. I remember listening to one of the stories of Chris Hodges, who runs the Church of the Highlands, which I think is the second largest church in America. Anyway, he in one of his next steps meeting, he saw this person, and it was exactly what we just talked about, right? And he went up to her, and he was like, I don't know like who you are, what you're about. All I know is I need to hire you. I need to get you on my team. And I don't even know what that's going to look like. I just know I need to get you. So that person now runs their entire serve team operation for all their different campuses, which is pretty massive. I don't even know the numbers of that, okay? But that's the idea here, is you want to, one, know what it looks like so that you can model after it, but then two, is not miss those opportunities when you see a leader walk into your life, okay? So the idea here is now I know what a leader looks like, and guess what? You have that potential to be one too. So thanks for tuning in today. Hopefully you took some good notes, and like I said, you can watch part 1. It's going to be online, and we're going to do this on a monthly basis. So I'll see you back here in 4 weeks in the, or actually 3 weeks now. I forget what it is. But anyway, I'm going to see you in February. So see you then. Thank you.